Hasn't got to find out I'm gone.
I'm a Krobo woman.
Sorry to see this, but I'm very promiscuous.
My brother wanted to marry a Ghan. She was like, can't dear.
Because a typical Ashanti man is not tall.
We make statements about groups of people we don't know or hardly ever encounter. On this show, we hear from the people themselves to find out if those statements are truth or myth.
I totally agree. You see, when Tohaze tried to conquer them and actually succeeded, they tried to undermine him with their beautiful women, and so crossbreeding and mixing.
Me, I heard that in the olden days, the Ashantis were like very short and I think very dark as well. So, and they had conquered the north, so they had slaves. No offense, so they had slaves. So then they started sleeping with the slaves.
The Dogos from the north who came to
settle there.
yeah, and impregnated some of the women there, gave them that balance. So, yeah.
Okay, according to what the Asante said, he said there was a point in time in Ashanti history whereby they had to marry off a princess of Ashanti to a northern prince. And so there was this cross-breed, for lack of better word.
Of course, they get tall people because a typical Ashanti man is not tall.
Actually, Ashantis are short.
Where did that come
How true that is?
I also don't know how true that is, but people say that Krobo girls are, they are promiscuous, but I don't know anything.
I haven't experienced that yet.
I don't know what Okomfo Anokye went to do there.
I disagree because I know a couple of Krobo women who are not promiscuous at all. But yes, I can understand where the sentiment is coming from because I know a lot of other Krobo women who are also very promiscuous. But it's the same thing. It cuts across all tribes. You find places where people are like very promiscuous and others are really not that promiscuous. I think it's more about nature against nature. It's not something that they've been cursed with. It's just it depends on the environment you grow in.
I'm a Krobo woman, and I actually take a lot of pride in that. My Twitter handle says that. I don't believe that because from what I've heard, he was taking his bath and some two Krobo ladies saw him, made fun of him, and he cursed them. Who was there to come and tell the story if it was only two Krobo women? Like, think about it, right? And I mean, they are bored, they answer, and that's okay. We don't mind.
I would want to peep too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A famous person is in town. The person is asking, how famous are you?
From what I have experienced, I think to a certain degree it is true because the Krobo people that I have come into contact with, sorry to say this, but are very promiscuous.
Okay.
Yes. I don't.
Wait, sorry, you mean promiscuous as in they sleep around
Oh,
or they
yeah.
just like sex and they are good at it?
I think it's both. They like sex and they are good at it, and they also like sleeping around. Yes, that's what, from my experience, that's what has been the case.
Okay.
Whereby there was, I don't want to mention him, but there was a certain girl in our school, in my former school, who was quite famous for her sexual, yes. And she was a Krobo. Yes, and a roommate of mine was also a Krobo guy who was quite the playboy. So in a way, I think they capitalize on their physical features. They are quite beautiful, really. They have voluptuous bodies and stuff like that. And, they capitalize on that and they use it to their advantage. And so, to some, it may seem like the curse is working. I don't entirely believe in the curse.
Every single time. Just 2 days ago, cracking an egg, you say something, cut a chicken's head, come someone.
And every
It's
time
fun.
you go to an Ewe man's house, there's some black and red something tied somewhere. And nobody wants to play with a number 9. If you know how to play. That's if he says he's going to his village, then you start shaking.
And nobody wants to mess with the oldest. If you go to an Ewe village, like in the Walter region, nobody wants to mess with the oldest man in that region. You see him, you go to the left or go to the right. You don't approach him, you don't look in his eyes.
Cliche. It's not a cliche.
It is.
Even he's saying it's just a cliche means like
It's just a cliche, yeah. It's just a cliche. It's not true. It's a cliche.
I have a lot of Ewe friends. I have this lady friend that, casual talk, she'll just be like, hey, I'm calling the Toby my family. I'll sit on our family broom and I'll come and visit you. It's a joke and everything. I get it. I know she's not serious about it. But they take pride in it. I think, for me, I don't even think it's a bad thing. What other tribes or other people meant to ridicule them or to paint them black, they now wear it with pride. So we like black magic. That's okay. We have it. I'll scare you with it. Personally, I think the Northerners are more powerful than the Ewes.
They are very confident about it. Like, it gives them this kind of, I don't know, kind of bragging rights. And I've been to a shrine festival before, and they are so proud. Like, when they are talking about it, you see, they mention the name with some kind of. They even told me to leave my camera on the street and go to wherever I was going to come. Nobody will pick it.
It's true.
The moment I mentioned the name, hey, they weren't even there.
I know, right? There was the things they can do.
As a northern man, it's like almost instant. And sometimes it's even benign if there's anything like that. But you know the person does not really mean it, but then they do say something offensive or do something offensive, and then when you want to talk about it, they say, oh, but you people, that's how you people are, or that's how you people are like. Is that not how your people are? There are no trees there. Meanwhile, he's never crossed the border to his place. Anyway, but it's just something that I've grown up to I think learn to ignore, because I know most of it comes from a place of ignorance. They don't know.
Jokes about promiscuity. Sometimes you meet some people and some think it's the smartest opening line. Like, oh, hello, hi. Sometimes I use my middle name, Amateko. So I say, well, Amateko. Oh, hi, are you Ghanaian? No, I'm Krobo. Oh, is it true Okomfo Anokye cares you? Like, okay. And I don't think that's discrimination. Initially, I used to get offended a lot. But, like, I'm not responsible for what you think. Hey, what you say, whatever you're thinking is true. Whatever you're thinking is true, then we move. So, yeah, but I've never been discriminated against. No.
I have. In terms of, when I came to Accra first, I wanted to rent a room, and I was looking around, Pukwasi and the places where the rent is cheap. And wherever I went, the first question that popped up was, what tribe are you? Yes, it's true. I'm not even kidding. And when you mention your name, they'll be like, okay, what's your name, Derek Ufuru? Okay, what tribe are you? Then you'll be like, I'm Ashanti. They was like, Then they will talk in their local language to another person. Then the person will say, no.
There's no room.
So they will have to, refuse you the room or whatever.
It's fortunate or unfortunate. I don't really have any experience with discrimination, because many a times where I find myself, it's Ashantis, Akans, not because I want to, but because it's just there. But I realize that with the Northerners, with the Ewes, with people that come from places that you don't really know of or you've really heard of.
Yeah, I have.
Never.
I have. I mean, that's one time I talking to someone and person got to find out I'm Ghana, and the interest and all that the person was supposed to do for me just went off like that because of my tribe, where I'm coming from. So sometimes I find it difficult telling people my tribe.
I don't find it difficult. Like, when I tell people I'm a Fante, they get more interested. Like, Fante girls, I've heard they are good cooks. Look how good. Like, their interest rather grows. So I don't really
I wish I could
I tell it proudly.
say the same for my tribe. I say I'm Ghanaian, someone, you guys are too loud, you're too vulgar, you're too this. Yeah.
I also think so, like I'm dying. I'm already crazy.
Well, so again, I think it's something many people of northern descent can identify with, because if you go through our history of either probably being conquerors or being the conquered, or having to migrate from obviously the poorer parts of the country to come and work in the richer parts of the country, there's always going to be a form of discrimination. So for instance, people meet me and then after interacting with me for like days or weeks, some have even known me for years, and when they find out that, oh, I'm of northern descent, they're like, you're a northerner. I'm like, what does that even mean? Right? Like, what do you mean by you're a northerner? Because then that sort of changes the entire perspective. You were really relating with me well until you found out I was a northerner. How is that a problem? Right? So sometimes you may feel like, look, I don't need to mention where I'm from, because the point is, I'm Chris, right? Chris the Dagao doesn't really matter in this particular context.
My tribe, we are like, that Akyem is one of the largest. So once you tell somebody you're an Akyem, which part of Akyem, like they want to find out. I've never been discriminated against for being an Akyem.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mother. Yes, I say my mother like this. She tells you indirectly, but you know it's for you.
Yeah.
And can force it.
Mine.
I befum benyum force it. Asante, like the Asante, like the third one. So my brother wanted to marry a girl. She was like, can't dear.
She should reconsider. But
for me,
it's true. My parents, especially my mom, she would not allow any girl from the area, the Boto region. She's so not fan of. Make sure you don't bring an Ewe woman to this house. I don't know the reason, but
even with that, my mom doesn't like Ashanti men. He said, "Omoya ahomaso."
Yes, we can do that.
I disagree because even now you have families or people who are deeply rooted in whatever belief, and they pass that thought and things onto their offspring, like their young ones, and it still goes on and on. No matter what we do, this thing has been there since.
That is why we have to try and change it, because growing up we all had the same perception. I don't want to play with an Ewe child, I don't want to associate with a grandchild, but you growing up in this era and you still want to be associating with what your forefathers, and I don't know, then you're not in this generation.
The only time we can change it is when people stop passing that thoughts and stuff onto their young ones. Until then, we can.
Yeah, but I think now it's changing, because now the cultural marriages are becoming more. People are going to unexpected places, like you have the marriages are. So it will change, but it will take time.
Yes, honestly, I don't think it can be eradicated, at least not in an African context, unless we are looking to engage in a large-scale genocide. Because as an African people, we identify strongly with our tribes, our small cultural groups, and it will take a lot of social engineering, which I don't see happening anytime soon, for us to completely eradicate tribalism. We may reduce it to, if you will, safe levels, where it's not as destructive as it can be, but it would always be there. There will always be that element of, I'm from here and these are my people, unless we decide to kill off like half of our population, I think.
If our generation is actually going to do that, I think unconsciously we are invested into doing that. Because if you're going to raise up your child, if I'm going to raise up my son or my daughter, I'm not going to be pushing into her head that you are this particular tribe. yes, you should know you're from this particular tribe. You should be proud of it, but it shouldn't be to a point where you demean another tribe.
Understand that if we all accept each other's tribe and love each other as ourselves, we can eradicate it. Like how my mom said, Asante 4-year Ahomaswo, she just needs someone to educate her more that there are people who are Ashantis who are not like that. So it can be eradicated.
Yeah, and it's all about creating awareness and proper education.